Greetings, Marvel Strike Force fans. I am Cerebro, your community manager, and welcome to the Community Update. We have an absolutely jam-packed episode to get to today, including a double dose of interviews, talking about an additional game mode, and some new Asgardians. But first, we're going to kick things off with some events that you can expect to see next week. If you're experiencing a case of clone envy, then prepare to remedy your symptoms with Mr. Sinister Blitz. In fact, we are going to have 2 blitzes featuring Mr. Sinister next week, and the ranking rewards are going to be updated to include shards for Mr. Sinister throughout the entire ranking. There will also be blitzes featuring The Thing and Ronin, so you can bolster your Fantastic Four and Kree teams. And starting December 1st, be sure that you log in for 22 days to earn the special Snow Globe orbs. Each orb will contain 3 to 5 shards of a marquee character and 60,000 gold. Ah, that gold. Gimme, gimme, gimme. And the legendary Space Ace Star-Lord is making a return. You'll get another chance to add him to your roster. I know some of you were asking when he's going to be back. Well, he's back, guys. At the same time, you will also get a chance to earn double the character shards for Guardians of the Galaxy and Ravager characters. As always, you can find out more information on our official blog on marvelstrikeforce.com for the latest updates, but do keep in mind that we will not be having one next week due to the American Thanksgiving holiday. All right, guys, I am super happy to have with us here in the studio Mr. Todd Owens, who is a game designer. Thank you so much for being here, sir.
Thank you. It should be fun.
And could you tell us a little bit more about what you do on the Marvel Strike Force team?
Sure. So I'm a senior game designer. I'm working right now in the combat pod, and what we do is we look at all the characters that are in the game, all the characters that are new. We pick out the ones that we want to add to the game. We define their role, and then specifically what I do is I do the combat balancing. So what abilities do they have? How much damage do they do? How much armor do they do? All the information for how they actually play in battle.
Now, I have to ask, we get so many requests for characters, right? I'm sure you have people on the team coming up to you all the time saying, like, what about this character next? What about this character next? How do you manage that influx of requests?
We have a big, long list of all the different characters that we want to do. And we pick and choose what's best for the game. So do we need a team? Do we filling out a team for like the Asgardians, right? We had Thor, we had Loki in the game, we just recently came out with Hela, but that's not quite a full team. They feel like they needed more. And so when we're looking at characters, the characters that we chose to add into there, Sif and Heimdall, perfect fit, everybody recognized from the movie, they're neat characters, and so that's kind of one of the ways that we weigh who we're going to bring in or not. Okay,
so main event, why we're here. We've got new Asgardians. We now basically have a full Asgardian team.
That's right. So these are the gods of Asgard, and so we want them to really feel powerful, like they work together, like they all come from the same place, that they all have similar abilities as far as something that you would recognize as very Asgardian and who they are, what they do. And then the role that we're picking out for them is we want them to really do well in war defense, and so they have a lot of bonuses there, a lot of abilities there. That's kind of what we're going for.
So we just actually introduced Coulson, which is kind of a war defense. So what would make the Asgardians different from like the SHIELD war defense?
So one of the things that Coulson is really good at is when you first go into the battle, he kills off the guy that is the largest threat on the enemy team. Now there are good strategies to kind of counter Coulson's counter of your team. The Asgardians are a little bit different in that Thor, with his changes and upgrades, makes him a good target as the first person you want to go for. But that leaves Hela. But also Sif is there and acting as a tank. And then you've got Heimdall that kind of protects them from other things. And so who you pick out and who you target is going to be different depending on what team you bring in and what strategy you're going to do. And then as Asgardians, every single member of that Asgardians has natural healing. So every time their turn comes up, they're going to get healing for themselves plus extra healing for every Asgardian that's still alive on their team, which means that anybody that you're attacking is now got their own kind of constant healing that's happening that's keeping them in the game.
So for Hela, our players actually kind of picked up on the fact that we called the summon Asgardian Greg. How did that name come about?
So part of our process is we're working on these characters is we'll sit around in brainstorming meetings and talk about, what can a character do? What do they want to do? And for Hela, we knew we wanted her to have this undead Asgardian that was with her, and as a joke, in one of those brainstorm meetings, we started calling him Greg, and that just stuck.
Nice.
And so
that's not official, by the way. That's just our own
just internal. That's just what we call him locally. But yeah, and it's a lot easier to say when you're talking about him instead of undead Asgardian. Every time you just call him Greg, everybody knows who you're talking about.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so we talked about war defense. We know Asgardians are going to be awesome there. Where are potentially some other uses that players might find some be able to leverage their power?
Sure. Well, they should do very well in raids. With their natural healing, then they've got a lot of sustain that'll carry them through those raids very, very well. And then just as a regular team in Arena, they're fun to play. They've got a lot of different powers. They've got a lot of different abilities. They've got counters that are good for a lot of different teams. I would say that raids would be another great place for them.
Possibly a couple of nodes in Ultima 7, maybe?
Yeah, I could see that.
Nice. So in addition to the new Asgardians, we did a little bit of touch-up on the existing ones already. Can you give us more info on that?
Sure. For Loki, we did a very basic change. On war defense, when he's with a full team of Asgardians, he's going to apply a taunt with his mind control ability, so that kind of helps out our AI be able to better target when it's on defense.
Nice.
And then he gets the healing that he didn't have before. That way, all the Asgardians have it. Thor gets an even bigger change. So on his special, it had a very limited chance of actually chaining before. Now it'll do more damage, and it will chain every single time he throws his hammer. More importantly, though, is that he's very protective of his other Asgardians. So as they're taking damage, as they're being attacked in it, he's gaining charge. And then finally, when he gains to maximum charge of 5, he's going to automatically leap out of his team and attack everybody on the other team, doing a pretty big hit.
Yeah, for everybody who've been asking before, hey, Thor could use a little bit of a touch-up.
He's got it.
We got you covered.
Yeah.
It's all good.
And so the last thing that gives the Asgardians a little extra value is that they're going to be the requirements for our next legendary character, Black Bolt, who he's really special. He's the first character that we've ever put out. When he kills an enemy, that enemy cannot be revived. There's no coming back from that.
All right, Todd, thank you so much for stopping by and letting us know. Sure. We are greatly looking forward to the next characters you're going to work on, so please come back and let us know.
All right, thank you.
Awesome. All right, guys, I am super happy to have with us today Mr. Justin Bartlett, the lead mission designer. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent.
Awesome.
Could you tell the people a little bit more about what you do on the Marvel Strike Force team?
Well, I lead the mission designers. We create the event campaign missions, we create the legendary missions, we create the campaign missions, we create raids, and we create dark dimensions.
So when you say create, it's like really from scratch, right? When somebody comes to you and says, hey, we need a mission for this thing. Like, where do you start?
We start with what's a story we're trying to tell, and who are the characters that are going to be important for that story. And then we kind of craft the missions. We think of it as crafting a puzzle, basically. Like who's going to drop in, what their turn order is going to be, knowing who the players are going to bring in to fight these people. We try to create a puzzle out of that.
Okay, so I just learned we have a new additional game mode coming out pretty soon. Can you tell the good people about it?
I certainly can. So we've got a new entry in Dark Dimension, our third entry.
First of all, is it going to look like the other, like Enter the Darkness and Fear the Darkness, like the mission nodes? Is it going to, like, visually look very similar?
Yes, it'll look very similar. The layout will be slightly different, a different pattern, but the core backgrounds will be the same. Enter the Darkness had 10 mission nodes. Fear the Darkness had 16. Mm-hmm. This one will have 16 as well. It is different in that every 4 missions, it's going to change up the trait requirements. So in the first batch of 4 missions, it will require Gear Tier 14. In the second batch of missions, it's going to require Gear Tier 14 and the global trait. The third batch will require Gear Tier 14 and the cosmic trait. And the final batch of 4 missions will require Gear Tier 14 and the city trait.
So that's actually how our players could get started right now if they wanted to, is working on that gear and those traits.
Yes, most definitely. Work on that Gear Tier 14, work on those traits, just know what's coming up. And if you can double dip, more power to you.
Okay, as far as the rewards go, I know people are going to ask the question. Are we able to talk about any of that stuff yet, or?
No, not at this time. We are working on the rewards, but we don't want to talk about them right now.
TBD.
Yeah, TBD.
Was there any feedback that the community had given about Enter and Fear the Darkness that you guys looked at and considered when creating this version?
Yeah, there's definitely feedback that we got. We received feedback that Enter the Darkness was very difficult for new players.
Uh-huh.
So we made an effort to retune some of those nodes to make it more approachable for players, and we're using that same kind of approach for this new entry into the darkness.
When are we expecting that players might be able to dive into this mode?
We're expecting players to be able to dive in very soon. We are working diligently to adjust the tuning to make sure players have both a challenging time, but also a rewarding time.
So we've obviously had a lot of characters introduced to the game since Enter and Fear the Darkness came out. Are we going to be seeing any of those newer characters?
Most definitely. You'll be seeing the Fantastic Four, some of the supernatural like Elsa, Ghost Rider. The X-Men will be showing up.
Oh.
Graviton will be in there.
Oh.
Yeah, it's going to be... yeah, if they've been released, you'll be seeing them.
All right, Justin. Well, thank you so much for stopping by and telling us about this mode. Please feel free to come back and tell us about the future stuff you're going to be working on.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, bud.
Hi, I am Zeeks, your community specialist, and I am here to do your community spotlight. Orion would like to know when some X-Men characters will be farmable soon. I do have good news about Psylocke. Her character shards will be able to be earned on a regular basis, sooner than you might think. Jay says, at Cerebro, epic beard! What I lack on my chin, I make up for on my head. Let's head on over to our Facebook group, which is connected to our official Facebook page. We wanted to give a special congratulations to Alex Hardin and Cody Bennett for pulling 180 Mr. Sinister shards. Congratulations, guys. I just also wanted to give a congratulations to Dustin Richard for finally recruiting his Ultimates. That's a fantastic achievement, Dustin. I would like to highlight content creator Valley Flying today for his amazing YouTube videos. My personal favorite series are his QA videos, where he helps out fellow players with any game mechanic questions they may have. Please make sure to check out his YouTube channel at youtube.com/valleyflyin.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching.
And please make sure to like and subscribe and tune in to our next episode of Strike Time.
Do you know why turkeys are such good percussionists?
No, why?
They're born with drumsticks.